Okay, folks, thank you very much for your patience. We're going to get started now. I want to welcome you to the Red Hook Town Board meeting of Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. May I ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much for tonight. Our temporary replacement TV, that TV over there broke about a week or 10 days ago. If you'd be kind enough just to pan over here, that is actually the replacement TV, which unfortunately is cracked. So we'll be back with a big screen for our next meeting when a good one comes in. So what we have for tonight is the supervisor's report, as always, the snapshot of the financial condition at any given moment. We do the first meeting of the month. Clerk's report, announcements, public comments. We'll take 15 minutes of public comments. And then we are moving into letting bids for highway materials for the winter season. We're going to consider approving a grant contract for brine equipment. As we've told you, I think in previous meetings, we were successful in obtaining $250,000 for equipment to brine the roads to help save money, not only in terms of salt, but also in terms of labor, and to provide a safer way of dealing with storms and their lack of predictability. Sewer district, we did receive final approval after quite some time from the comptroller's office. So we have our final order and our bond resolution. And when you see that bond resolution, just know it's like all resolutions where you have to indicate the total cost of the project. But as we've indicated, we've already appropriated some money towards the sewer project. We have a presentation about Pollinator Gardens grant that we'll have tonight, and some ideas of where we might do one. We have our hopefully final amendment to the police services agreement for 2025, and that's what we have on the agenda. So why don't we dive right in? This is a supervisor's report for the period ending July 31st. 2025, we started with an opening balance of $10,415,000. We had receipts of $684, disbursements of $882,000, leaving a remaining balance of $10,217,000. And you have your budget adjustments prepared by our bookkeeper for July, and your variance report. Are there any questions, board members, on those? No. Okay. Hearing none, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the supervisor's report?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Jacob. All in favor? Aye. That's 3 votes in the affirmative, myself, aye. We also have the town clerk's monthly report for July. Deanna, may I impose upon you to read?
The town clerk's report for July 1st through July 31st, 2025. We had 234 people at the window, 109 notaries, and FOIL requests are 10. There are still 5 open. And the town clerk, the total local shares remitted to the supervisor, $8,895.27. Amount paid to New York State Agriculture and Markets for spay-neuter program, $24. Amount paid to New York State Department of Health for marriage licenses, $67.50. Amount paid to New York State Environmental Conservation for hunting and fishing licenses, $217.23. And the total county, and local revenues, $9,204. And I hereby certify that vouchers numbered 33668 to 33805, totaling $386,000. $8,034.62 processed in the month of July 2025 are an accurate reporting of the abstracts approved for payment by the town board.
Very good. Any questions about the clerk's report? For the folks at home, you'll notice that much of the report fees deal with the garbage collection. One of the things we did years ago is we had our staff, and we did this at the onset of COVID, our staff took over collecting garbage. We had a hauler that was situated there, and really our crew stepped up and were able to deliver that service at a much better rate for our taxpayers. You're going to hear a lot tonight about what we're doing with your tax dollars. We also made access to that public facility free. As you know, you used to have to pay to go to your own recycling center. So the large majority of what's collected, 7,900, is related to garbage, and of course, recycling is free. So is there a motion to accept the clerk's report?
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Bill.
Second.
Second, thank you, Jacob. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Announcements. I don't really have any announcements tonight. Does anybody? Okay. Hearing none. Public comments. We'll take about 15 minutes of public comments. We would like to, and just remind you, 3 minutes each, please.
Fine. Robert, I read in the Daily Catch you were complaining about the outcome of the Democratic caucus. Quite frankly, what happened there was solely due to your actions and the actions of the town board. First, you made your intentions known to take and strip 100 families of the ownership of their boat club. Then, when the first caucus, which by the way angered a lot of people, and they had a record attendance at the first caucus. Okay, then after Chris Kane lost her position on the ballot, and Kenny and Christina were nominated, you and Bill Hamill filed a complaint down at the Board of Elections over an 11.5 by 8-inch notice, which wasn't posted on the county board in their office in Poughkeepsie. Now, who in Riddick will go look at that, I don't know, but on a technicality, you managed to have the caucus set aside. Then, you held a special meeting right before the second caucus to pass the resolution to take the boat club by eminent domain, giving Chris an opportunity to plausibly deny her interest in it and say she wouldn't vote for it, which was all predicated ahead of time and broadcast throughout the town, as I pointed out the last time. Then you failed to realize that the election law had another technicality in it, and that allowed people to change their party registration and vote in the second caucus after July 1st. And 90 to 100 people took advantage of that because they wanted their voices heard in the governance of this community. All right? Then, you ran a fourth candidate, which was a fatal mistake. You thought you were going to strip Kenny or Christina of votes, and guess what? Unfortunately, it happened to Chris Kane. What you failed to realize, had you left Chris Kane alone and not run a fourth candidate, there were 383 votes between the two of them. She probably would have won this nomination. And Chris, with friends like that, you don't need a lot of enemies. Robert, what happened at the caucus is totally due to you, and you. Not to anybody out here. You're to respond. Don't complain about it and whine. I mean, it sounded like sour grapes to me, honestly, Robert. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Anybody else like to make some public comments?
Roxanne Fisher. Good evening, members of the Red Hook Town Board, Supervisor McKeon, and fellow residents. I'm here to voice my deep outrage over the town board's misuse of taxpayer dollars to fund the eminent domain acquisition of the Red Hook Boat Club property, a decision that defies overwhelming community opposition and violates principles of transparency and accountability. Let's start with the facts laid out in today's agenda document. Page 10 reveals a shocking escalation in the set-aside amounts for attorney consultant services line 5, increasing from $65,000 to $125,000, with $105,859.58 already spent. The planning contract line 13 jumps from $13,000 to $33,000, with $24,368 expended to date. That's a total of $110,509.38 burned so far, nearly doubling the original budgets for a project that most of us never wanted and were never properly consulted on. This spending spree violates Town Law number 64-2, which mandates transparent budgeting and public allocation. I've reviewed minutes from previous meetings, and there's no public record vote on authorizing the initial engagements of Hodgkin Russ or additional expenditures for the town planner, Green Plan, in March before the public was even notified of eminent domain plans. Legal fees began in secret executive sessions, predating public notice and denying taxpayers our right to oversight under Public Offices Law number 87. The opposition is undeniable. 92.4% of residents, through letters, public hearings, or the online petition, oppose this acquisition. 2 board members voted no on July 15th, voicing opposition joined by local mayors, elected officials, and hundreds of residents at the May 16th pro forma hearing. The board's claim of, quote, broad public support is flatly contradicted by the evidence. The planning board, acting as the Waterfront Advisory Committee, identified 6 inconsistencies with the local waterfront revitalization program, including site unsuitability due to drop-offs, currents, limited access. Yet the board simply, quote, disagreed and pushed forward. This is fiscal malfeasance, plain and simple, violating General Municipal Law 51 against wasteful spending. We've already spent over $110,000, with costs piling up daily toward a projected acquisition price more than $1 million, plus costs for ADA compliance, maintenance that could run hundreds of thousands more. Taxpayers deserve to know about this action from the start, not uncover it through FOIL requests or buried budget transfers. Because of this board's refusal to be transparent, I submitted a formal complaint to the New York State Comptroller on August 11th, requesting an urgent review of these violations. I urge the board to halt this process immediately and reject continued spending. Red Hook deserves governance that informs and respects its residents, not one that tears at our community's fabric.
Roxanne,
Thank
if I
you.
could ask you, you wrapped up. Thank you very much.
I'm done.
Who else would like to speak? Lisa, if you would be kind enough to just say your name and state your municipality, please.
Lisa Polero, Red Hook. You already know that of the 916 documented names from the letters, public comments, and the online petition, that 846 of them expressed opposition, and there's another 1,269 names on the paper petitions. On July 15th, Jacob, you said, I have had a number of conversations with people who have expressed interest in having public access to the Hudson and support action by the town. But you never told us what that number is. And there's no log or documentation because it was not provided as part of my FOIL request. And several minutes after your comment, Christine Kane said, I have not heard very many comments in favor of this process. So was your number larger than 1,269 or larger than 846? You also said regarding your conversations, I refuse to allow those people to be ignored. But aren't you ignoring 1,269 people or 846? The legal notice published in the Daily Freeman explicitly states in Section 4, the written and oral comments provided by the residents of the town in support of the project further support the need for a dedicated public park. Now, I'm not sure if the law firm to which we've already paid almost $55,000 wrote that, but knowing that there's a high probability of a judicial review, you'd certainly want it to be accurate. So do you know how many written comments posted to the website support this? 8, and that's being generous. Do you know how many oral comments are in the transcript of the public hearing supporting this? 0. And how many supportive emails were given to me in response to my FOIL request? 1. A statement such as that in a legal document, so easily debunked in a judicial review, just seems sloppy. But that's not the only questionable claim in the legal notice, and I'm not sure how you plan to spin them, but no doubt they'll add to the legal and planning invoices that already exceed $108,000. Jacob, you also said, I believe that the substantive concerns raised by the public have been adequately addressed by the materials we've shared. Are you referring to the PowerPoint by the planner, to whom we've paid over $24,000, in which he repeatedly referred to currents spelled with an A? Did any of you even read that first? Or to the feedback from the Waterfront Advisory Committee that was summarily dismissed because the board disagreed with it? And you can't possibly mean the non-existent financial analysis, and the public certainly didn't know about these invoices that continue to amount. They don't address any concerns, they only raise more. So it's time to end this debacle and stop wasting our tax money on something that clearly has little to no support, and that is well documented.
Thank you, Lisa. Would anybody else like to speak?
Bonnie Day. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's already been covered pretty much, but I'll leave a copy with the clerk because I addressed it to y'all and it took me hours to write. And everything that I want to say is not in here. I start off with, again, please reverse this decision. There's one line in the plans that you're referring to, and you're exploiting just that one line that the town needs it. There's another line that says, we shall not compete with existing clubs. And the writers of that wrote right into those plans, leave existing club alone, seek elsewhere. It's right in those plans. And you missed the opportunity to buy land that was for sale just north of our club and south of Tivoli, so but that would still be Red Hook. We shouldn't have to pay for that oversight. 2 years ago, you were excited, and this is in the Daily Catch. There was an article dated December 13, 2023, when the Bard was going to sell us the 122 acres. You were very excited about that. I don't think that's been canceled. I think it's on pause. But anyway, the quote there was, let me just find it. No. Oh, yes. Town Supervisor Robert McKeon said this week that he's been working on the Riverfront Park concept since 2023. That's not 1950, whatever you claim it is. So there was no reference to the old plans. So please wait for Bard. Help us clear up this distrust that this community is forming of you. Yeah, we already have a public-private relationship with the town people. We love the town people. They come to the club, they beep the horn, the gate opens. I don't understand the problem. And we maintain all that club at no cost to these other 11,000 people. So you're just gonna take all that on. And what's not in here is, somebody said that one of you said we were mooching off of a local town. That's not mooching, it's sharing. Those ramps were funded on tax dollars. We can use them, it's public funded. And I think there's a dog park that was supposed to be purchased on Feller Newmark Road. No, it was purchased. Cipollini's donated it for $1. I don't know why the dog park's not there. And we're mooching off of Rhinebeck for this dog park because we have to share it with Rhinebeck. But that's what we do. We're a community. We share. Thank you.
Okay, we can take one or two more speakers. 15. Marshall, if you'd be kind enough to just tell us which municipality you're in, your name and which municipality.
Marshall Crodell, I live in the town of Stanford.
Thank you.
I'm a member of the Red Hook Boat Club, 1/100th owner. I wrote all of you a letter, sent registered mail and email around May, and the deadline was when you wanted to hear about our concerns. I have yet to hear from any of you. Is that a common practice from your board, just to ignore citizens, even though I don't live in Rhinebeck or Red Hook, and I'm from Stamford, but I'm a part owner of Red Hook property? Or are you just singling me out? Or is that something that's a common practice among you? Any comment? I'm waiting.
They're not
Do you
gonna respond.
answer the mail?
Marshall, do you have more more comments you'd like to make?
No, that's it. I just want everybody to know that you're negligent on correspondence.
Atrocious. I can answer that, Marshall. I live in Claremont. They wouldn't respond to me either.
Part of the course, huh?
Yep, there's some trash. 'Cause I
Okay,
live
we'll
in
take one
Claremont.
more speaker.
Rich Ross, Commonwealth Red Hook Boat Club.
Richie, if you'd be kind enough to let us know which municipality you're in.
Oh my God.
I want to know why you start asking that now. Why
What does
didn't
that
you
have to
ask
do
that
with
anyone
anything?
prior?
Just asking if you'd let us know which municipality you're
Registered voter in the town of Red Hook. Last month's meeting, you did not disclose the recreation director's report. So I'll take it upon myself to read it for you. Of course, the transparency, which is not demonstrated, I'll make sure to make a point of that for you. Chain link fence at the pickleball courts, someone deliberately pulled the fabric off the top rail, required major repair. I purchased and installed a green safety fence cap that is the same as the yellow cap on the ball fields to cover the ties at the top of the chain link fence to discourage further damage. You had restroom blockages. Joe Kuhn and I snaked the line, and finally the massive blockage released in the septic tank. The septic system is over 40 years old. I suspect that the leach field is a dry well instead of an actual drainage field. The 1,000-gallon septic tank is one designed for home rather than public restrooms. In the future, the entire system may require a replacement. This is a major capital project that may cost a significant amount of money. You have problems with snack bar drinking fountain that overfills into a dog bowl. And the last one, I think, which might be the most important one, because it's been one of point of contention since the onset, and it's the Cookingham Trails fence line. Brian spent most of last week with Joe Kuhn clearing the fence lines at the Cookingham Trails. They described the work as brutal and barbaric because the growth was often over 5 feet high and extremely thick. This is not work for retired workers in their 60s. After 2 days mowing the fence lines with a 33-year-old John Deere 455, I can attest to the description of the task. Walking the gas-powered weed trimmer is physically challenging. The equipment that mowed the fields needs to be more powerful so that the grass and the weeds are cut rather than just pushed down. We must remove the trees that have grown down over the fences. Limbs have fallen on the fence. This will require using a pole chainsaw. The staff recommendation is to trim the fence line every 3 to 4 weeks, depending on weather. If it's allowed to grow as high as this high again, this cannot be done by park staff. The key is to trim the fence lines before they become unmanageable. I guess what my takeaway from all this is, we've been coming to this meeting since April. Ms. Kane has mentioned you've had problems with theft, arson, vandalism. The list goes on and on and on. I mean, it truly does. We can't deny that. The issue that I see lying here, Robert, and when you and I met and we spoke of this, you mentioned that you were going to have a paid park staff member. To me, it seems like we have enough issues on our hand right now that should be addressed before we bite off more. And that's all I have to say. Let's get things under control before we add more to the mix here.
Thank you, Rich. Okay, I want to thank you all for your comments tonight. I'm going to take a little bit of how we're managing your dollars, those of you who are taxpayers. There'll be a presentation in about 2 or 3 meetings about the 2026 budget. You'll get to see what the implications of those numbers are, but I want to go back to the last preliminary budget presentation because we continue to hear this when we propose capital projects. Whatever capital project we propose, there's always individuals who, are not supportive of it. Oftentimes they try to describe the project as budget busting, or it's going to, I think when we were doing the rec park project, it's going to bankrupt the town. So it's a good time to remind the taxpayers and the people at home just how we have been spending your dollars, at least over the last 10 years. And the 2025 budget is now for the 10th year. I should tell you the actual taxes that people pay, town taxes, is lower this year than it was 10 years ago. We have always lowered our tax rate to adjust for any increase in valuations, and we're going to show you a little bit of that. Our credit rating has been increased and reiterated. We don't do it alone. We do it because we have a lot of volunteers. We get a lot of grants. We work very hard for those grants. We partner a lot with the county, state, federal government oftentimes, and land trusts and so on and so forth. The most recent fiscal stress analysis by the Comptroller's Office, we heard about the Comptroller's Office, was 2023 for the town of Red Hook. The town of Red Hook received a perfect 0 score. There's 0 chance, according to this type of analysis, of the town having any fiscal stress. It's rare that a municipality has a perfect 0 score. Here shows you over the 10-year period, and I hope you can see the screen. I apologize, it's smaller today. How property values have increased. We're now at $460,000 is the most recent number for the median home sale price, which is why building affordable housing is so critical. And you can see what we've done to the tax rate, how it's decreased over time. I took a generic tax bill, the one that was closest to the median size, and this is all part of the presentation that was given nearly a year ago, showing the same property with no changes to that property. $674 is what that property, the median property, paid in town taxes. So you think of all the services you received from the town, $674 back in 2016. That same property now only pays $626. So there's a decline of somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 or 7% of what people are actually paying for town services. This is in spite of all the projects we've done, over 80 projects and programs that we've done here over the period of time. Here's the Cookingham project, which you are all familiar with, the trails that were referenced there, and trail improvements, which we conducted last year and are taken into account into the financials for last year. We preserved, and I want to remind everybody, we've preserved every single acre that was actively farmed on the Cookingham farm permanently. The only part of the farm that we are using for other purposes is this gray area here. A small portion will be for solar. That's the former mined area, which was mined nearly a century ago. And we have reserved a well site because many village residents will need access to a new well in the upcoming years, and we have reserved a site for that as well. Here in this great area here is where the affordable housing will go. It will also enable development of the adjoining Ross property because there will be infrastructure that will go up here. Mr. Trezza spoke at a previous meeting about the affordable housing. We were working with REPCO. We worked with all of the affordable housing developers in the region. They were the ones who took on the project. We were the first, I believe, township to become a designated pro-housing community, which entitled us to apply for grant funding. REPCO did on our behalf. We have $3.4 million that has been allocated so this project can get up and going. It's a very attractive development, and obviously, as you know, there are many families and generations of individuals who have difficulty now with the escalating home prices in order to stay here. Trails, a lot of work we've done on creating trails over that decade. You will see if you come at our next meeting, August 27th, we'll have a presentation for Winnicke Land Trust because we'll be doing another joint project with them, state funding that they received to protect another section of the Sawkill. It's over by Camp Rising Sun. It's over 100 acres that's being permanently protected, and we'll be doing a walking trail there as well. St. Margaret's is almost ready. We're doing parking there. We'll have a grand opening in maybe a month or two. Hopefully it'll be all ready. Here are the initial images that were presented, mailed to everybody about the Cookingham affordable housing hopefully you will find that it's attractive and additive to the community. Rec West, connector and trails expansion. We have a lot of trails we've created over the decade. We finally started developing Rec Park West, and we have both parking and a field there as well. There's the connector. We've expanded services, as I mentioned, the recycling center. We took over maintenance of the dog park because the town of Rhinebeck did not want to continue maintaining the dog park. So we took over all of that maintenance. I think I mentioned to you, we also took over, as we were required to, by law, take over the Red Church Cemetery and property. We think we're maintaining those properties quite well. There was a reference earlier tonight about property on Bella Newmark for a dog park. You know, one more false information. The Sibberley family donated the property in 1998 for an environmental park. Over 80% of the 3 acres is underwater. It's classified wetlands. It was never supposed to be a dog park. We have a lot of clean energy projects that are saving folks money and taxpayers money. This building has been completely insulated, retrofitted with heat pumps, and we've reduced expenses. We've received grants and went out and got grants for new generators. LED streetlights. We bought our streetlights many years ago in town because we were paying an enormous amount of money to Central Hudson just to lease streetlights. We converted them to LEDs. You'll see that it'll all be paid off by next year, and you'll see a dramatic reduction if you are in our lighting district in the expense associated with that. We've increased wages substantially in Town Hall, and we have a lot of new equipment in the highway. We fund, people don't realize, we fund the programs in the community center, so I want you to think about those $600 and something that the average house pays for, but there are a lot of other things you're getting, including free programming through the Red Hook Community Center. We got a grant also for their generator because they didn't have one. One of the first projects I was involved with was creating the sidewalk here right in front all the way down to Holy Cow, and recreation facilities. We talk about how not everybody's in favor of particular projects. I would remind folks that we have petitions with several hundred names on them.
To the agenda.
We're getting to the agenda.
Well, stop boasting on yourself. Ridiculous.
We had 500 signatures against the overhaul of the recreational park. We did move forward with that. We made some modifications, and we worked with people in the neighborhood on that. We had lots of volunteers for the playground area. We have new tennis courts, new pickleball courts. We're pretty close to 100% rehab of the recreational park.
You do everything but reply to your mail.
Okay, let's see, this is a Sawkill Bridge. This is one of the projects that's underway right now. We've got state and county funding for. That construction will take place in 2026, and you should see that moving.
Robert, how come you're not bragging about taking the boat club?
Al,
How
almost
come you're not
finished
bragging
here.
about
I
taking
appreciate
a boat
you not
club?
interrupting.
For the benefit of the town, what you're doing.
We,
How come you're not bragging about it, Robert?
Just trying to justify all the wasted tax dollars.
Corruption, the political, and
folks, I'm
personal
going to ask you
town
not
board.
to interrupt, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just
Corruption.
want to remind you of the breakdown of taxes. A lot of times folks will talk about how their taxes continue to go up. It is not due, however, in the last decade to either the town or the county. Both the town and the county have reduced taxes over the last decade. 81% of taxes on average are the school district. We're down to 6%. So while we do everything we can, just know that that's all we constitute is 6% for the town. We'll be back up and running. There are other programs we have that offset the tax dollars that people pay. There's a lot of talk about solar and why we don't want to do solar. Our first community solar farm in 2019, folks were able to sign up for a 25-year agreement, a purchase power agreement. If you were one of those lucky 280 families that did so, you saved more than you paid in taxes if you were an average town taxpayer, because the combined rate that they're paying for electricity is 11.6 cents per kilowatt.
Why don't you mention the money you're saving on stamps, but not replying to your mail?
Marshall, I'm going to ask you to please not interrupt.
I'm going to ask you to answer my mail. I sent you an email too. I invested money in a registered letter and I get nothing back.
Other programs that we have, our free summer rec program you've heard me speak about. So if you have a child that's in that, you probably save more than the $600 and something that you paid in town taxes. So that's how we're stewarding your money up till now. Obviously, it's not possible to continue to lower town taxes infinitum, but just over the last decade, just know that we've decreased the amount that people pay for town taxes. Okay, let's get to tonight's agenda. Thank you, but we will be responding to some of the comments that we received both now and in the future. Okay. We are at highway. We are going out to bid. We do this every year. One of the ways that we try to keep costs down is we're required to go out to bid for highway materials.
This weekend.
We have the bid specifications. We have a resolution in order to go out to bid for these various items. Deanna, do we have a resolution number, please?
54.
Resolution 54, authorizing the town clerk to advertise a request for sealed bids for the purchase of ice control abrasives, a request for sealed bids for hot mix asphalt, and a request for proposals for various materials for 2026. There's a notice. And 54 is asphalt. Who would like to move 54?
So moved.
Jacob, liaison to highway, thank you very much. Is there a second on 54?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. All right, we have another resolution. And a notice, or was it all combined into one?
I think it was all combined.
It was all combined this year, okay. Good. Let's take up our next agenda item. Execution of a grant agreement with DEC for water quality improvement grant regarding brine equipment and storage. And as I mentioned earlier, we're hoping that this will result in a cost savings and also allow us to better prepare the roads and save on the environmental impacts. And this is resolution number 55, approving the grant agreement from the state. It's $250,000. We're going to need to figure out which building or add on to a building in order to store the equipment. I don't think it's likely that we'll have this ready for this winter. I think things would have to fall in line rather quickly in order to do that. But the sooner we get to it and get out to bid on the equipment, the better. Okay, that's resolution 55, approving the grant agreement with New York State DEC for water quality improvement grant regarding brine equipment and storage. And it is a very lengthy grant. You're welcome to read it online. Folks at home, who would like to move to approve this agreement?
So moved.
Not like we have a lot of leeway with the state grants. It's pretty much you take it as they propose it. Jacob, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Julio. All in favor? Aye. It's 4-0 on that. Sewer district, final order. So we finally heard back from the comptroller's office. They had some questions. I don't know if that's a staffing thing, just maybe with the flood of all the infrastructure money, there's a lot of projects. But we did receive our final approval. And let's take a look at that. Folks at home. This is the area, this is the TND, Traditional Neighborhood District, 51 properties to enable them to build out as envisioned by the Centers and Green Space plan. Resolution number 56.
6. We did it.
Yeah, you're right.
I think we're going to take the final order first for 56. Dated August 12th, establishment of Town of Red Hook Sewer District Number 1 to finance district improvements and authorizing construction of improvements, including a district collection system, connection to the Village of Red Hook sewer system, and expansion of the Village of Red Hook sewer treatment plan in the Town of Red Hook and the County of Dutchess, State of New York, pursuant to Article 12A of the Town Law. Folks, I'm sure you're interested in knowing that apparently the village sewer plant is operating as it's supposed to. We are too interested in that. We've got a lot of whereases. Most of the important aspects are the total cost of the project is estimated at $6,596,000. Another explanation for the folks at home, this is what's referred to as a special benefit assessment district, which means that the costs that are borne by this extension of the sewer district, they are borne by the property owners, these 51 property owners. We have set aside some ARPA money, if you recall from previous meetings, in order to assist with that. We had greater flexibility with ARPA money, couldn't otherwise appropriate any money towards the creation of the sewer district. Okay, the entire resolution is available for the folks to read on our website. There was a final order, District Number 1 pursuant to Section 209-F of the Town Law. Who would like to move 56?
I would like to.
Thank you, Bill. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 ayes. It's unanimous. Okay, bond resolution number 57. This is amended and stated, restated bond resolution dated August 12th, authorizing construction acquisition. Again, as I referenced earlier, you have to recite the entire cost of the project. regardless of how much you get in grants or appropriate from other sources. That's $6,596,000 pursuant to the local finance law to finance such cost and delegating certain powers in connection therewith to this town supervisor. Talking again about the sewer system improvements consisting of construction and equipping of a collection system of approximately 10,123 linear feet. And this is to obligate the municipality with these general obligation bonds. Resolution number, what did I say, 57? Thank you. Who wants to move 57?
I'm also going to move this.
Thank you, Billy. You like your infrastructure. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Jim. Any discussion? It's all self-explanatory? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Roll call. Bill Hamel.
Bill Hamel.
Jacob Testa.
Aye.
Bill Hamel was a yes?
I was, yeah.
Yep. Okay. You've got 4 yes votes there, Chris. Jacob? Aye. Can we do one more time? It was messy. Julia?
Aye.
Aye. Bill?
Aye.
Aye. Myself, aye. Always want to make sure with those bond resolutions, you get your four ayes in there. Okay. So before I introduce you, I first want to say, because of the weather, when we finally did get to cut those weeds on the Cookingham trails, we had people saying, you gotta cut these weeds, they're too tall, while people were also calling and saying, what are you doing cutting the pollinator? So, with that.
Comment on the Cookingham Trail.
Right.
Because could go and tell you, look and see if they're invasives, a thicket of invasives, or a thicket of wonderful pollinator plants, or perhaps a mix of both, which is often the case, which is a tricky situation.
Absolutely.
Yes. But what we're proposing is not a thicket, and it's not a large area. It's some very small, very ornamental installations.
It would be a trial size, if you will, right?
Yes.
Okay. So why don't you come up, if you wouldn't mind, to the microphone and introduce yourself, and I apologize, I don't know if you were here earlier to hear me explain that delivery doesn't always come in one piece. Okay.
This one? Is that
Please
one?
do, or you can take that one right there, whichever one you want.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm happy to be here. My name is Ashley Gamel, and I work for Partners for Climate Action as a consultant. I live in Rhinebeck, and I'm a local ecological landscape designer. My background is I worked at Brooklyn Botanic Garden doing education and horticulture for 11 years before I moved up to Rhinebeck about 8.5 years ago, and started my business about 2 years ago. But I like to devote a lot of my time to public work for the public good, so that's why I split my time between private landscape design clients and then work with organizations such as Partners for Climate Action. Tonight I'm going to be talking about pollinator demonstration gardens that we are proposing to basically gift to Red Hook. So it's a proposal for accepting a grant. And if you're not familiar with Partners for Climate Action, they're a local nonprofit. They're based right now in Hudson, New York, but they serve the entire Hudson Valley area, especially the mid-Hudson Valley, since that's what's nearby to us. And they do a variety of different projects. I'm sure you've had other engagements with their work on this board and seen how active they are in the local community, I would guess. For example, earlier tonight, there was a Partners for Climate Action meadow walk at one of the installations, which is like a 1-acre pollinator field on the Bard campus that was a partnership with Bard. And that's why Lori Husted, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, was not able to be with me this evening. And she's one of our supporting local partners from Red Hook who are taking on this project in the future. You can scroll down. This is Partners for Climate Action, just our webpage to give you a sense of our mission. And the project I've been most involved with at Partners for Climate Action is called Pollinate HV, Pollinate Hudson Valley. So it's a guide. You're seeing kind of the home page here. And it's specifically targeted towards preserving the butterflies, bees, moths, wasps, beetles, other pollinators that are most at risk of disappearing from the Hudson Valley in particular. So those that are threatened, vulnerable, at risk of disappearing locally. And even on our list of species we're trying to conserve are a few that have not been cited in a few years, but we're hoping maybe there's still enough out there that we can get their populations back, and we're calling those our moonshot pollinators. So it was developed with conservation biologists who developed these pollinator conservation lists for us. And then it gives suggestions of what plants you can plant that really specifically address the needs of those pollinators. So it's not your typical pollinator garden where you'll see coneflowers and black-eyed Susans. Those species are actually more from the prairie. They don't even really grow wild in the Hudson Valley. These are specifically tailored, very scientific sort of pollinator gardens that are designed for a lot of specialist bees, like the blueberry cellophane bee that needs blueberry pollen and blueberry pollen only to feed its young, or violet fritillary butterflies that can only provide their young with food by laying their eggs on the leaves of violet plants. So there are a lot of very particular relationships like that, and if we don't preserve sort of some of the more specific species, that as far as plant species, and start planting them, we can lose a lot of that wonderful biodiversity that we're looking to support. So we provide plant lists, we provide plant designs as well, and all sorts of other resources, toolkits, kind of step-by-step how to switch out lawn into pollinator meadow. But some of the feedback that we got from this project that launched about a year ago is that a lot of our users were looking for just very small, easy to replicate, easy to do at home sort of models where they wouldn't need to kind of reinvent the wheel themselves. They wanted to be able to see something, really see it up close so they see what these species look like, since they're not the garden plants that are in everyone's yards, and then they can go home and replicate them. So that's this new project that we've just started launching. As we received, you can go down a slide, we received a grant, a very generous grant. This is some of the resources, including the landscape designs. And here are some of the moths, bees, butterflies that we're conserving. The New York State Community Trust has something called the New York State Pollinator Conservation Fund, and we received a large grant from them. And one of the facets of this grant is identifying 10 municipalities, identifying 5 municipalities in the Hudson Valley that are really well positioned to host these demonstration gardens. And there are 2 gardens in each municipality, so it's 10 demonstration gardens. And to plant them, install them, design them, put in educational signage so that people walking by in these public places can see an exact map of what's planted so they can replicate it at home. It will also have a QR code to link people to exactly how to plant this at home. And this was an invite-only situation where we chose to approach Red Hook based on Red Hook's very active Sustainability Advisory Council and some of the great partners like Bard that we knew were really well positioned to support this project. So if you scroll down, you'll see the sites we're proposing. We had a meeting with members of the Old Dutch Garden Club, who will also be our partners on this, as well as the Bard Office of Sustainability and the Director of Parks and Facilities. And we looked all around Red Hook at some potential sites that the local Red Hook partners had thought would be good places for these gardens. And we wound up agreeing that our top picks would be these 2 sites in the rec park. So this is the first site There's going to be a memorial bench on this site, looking out at the ball fields, for, I don't remember the individual's name, but,
Tom Gilbert.
say it again for me?
Tom Gilbert.
Yes, who was a baseball coach for many years. And I know John thought it would be a great site to have a garden kind of adjacent to the bench. It's very visible because it's right on the way to the concession stand, but it's not right next to the concession stand. So I know some people were worried about honeybees and wasps and with concessions, but this will be kind of 20 feet down the path, and it would be edging the pathway there. We want to make it as easy as possible for maintenance. We don't want to add to the workload of the town's maintainers at all. They would not be responsible for the maintenance of these gardens. So it would be kind of a cutout shape here that could just be mowed around, and Partners for Climate Action would be providing all the plants, all the materials, metal edging to go in here, and we'd be helping to organize the volunteers, sort of get the maintenance plan in place and get everything rolling. Again, the only responsibility coming from the town of Red Hook would be just a commitment to long-term maintenance, and we have partners in place for that. I'll explain some more about that later. So that's site one. We have a lot of other sites if the town board and the town is not feeling positive about these. This is the second site. It's right near the other site so that they can easily be maintained by volunteers in one trip instead of requiring two separate locations to be coordinated. And there would be a pollinator garden bed somewhere in this smaller area, right at the entrance to the playground, so very visible to multi-generational audiences. We would allow for that desire path to continue, maybe even put in a little bit of gravel or stepping stones to make it look nicer than it does now. And we maintain space around that bench, so there's still a comfortable seating area there, but just beautify the entrance there. And these are some of the plants that we would be proposing as our planting palette.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Don't mean to make you dizzy there. Okay.
So these are some of the plants. These are plants, again, that support at-risk pollinators. They also flower throughout the growing season. They're long-lived, low maintenance, they're perennials. They come back every year and they're very reliable. The planting design will be developed by myself and also Shannon Siegel, who's the owner of Tiny Meadow Farm. She's another expert in native plants, so it's a collaborative effort to make sure we're providing a really high quality, long-lasting, durable, low-maintenance design for these areas. And you can scroll down a little more. So this is just a little sketch I did in case you're having trouble visualizing the scale. I know when we say pollinator garden, a lot of people are picturing a seeded wildflower meadow. This is not that. This is really a garden. You can see clusters of plants planted in drifts so that it looks organized and visually pleasing. And it's just in these small areas. This patch is maybe like a 10 by 12 garden bed here. Okay, so the grant would fund the design, plant materials, educational signage, and the grant also provides staffing, which is myself, coordinating the project, helping to source plant materials, and helping our local partners who are the Bard Office of Sustainability and the Old Dutch Village Garden Club, helping them recruit volunteers and come up with a maintenance plan and support them as they develop a plan to maintain these two small gardens in the long run. Key to know is that the Bard Office of Sustainability will be working with the Bard Center of Civic Engagement and the Garden Club and Red Hook together to maintain the plantings with a combination of paid student hours as well as volunteer work. So they even have money to support the volunteer hours to keep this going into the future, which is great. Among all the municipalities, that's the only one that has actual funding for long-term maintenance. So again, Red Hook is really one of our top choices because that's excellent long-term support. As far as the timeline, we would be looking to secure a signed letter of commitment, hopefully over the next month from the town of Red Hook. We then begin planning our design work and sourcing materials through the fall and winter, and we would be installing in spring 2026. The grant supplies continued support through that initial growing season, so I'd be returning to the site to check in on the garden, see if the partners need any more help sort of securing volunteers, training volunteers, you know, checking in on the projects and making sure they're off to a great start. And I think I went over this, educational, attractive, low maintenance pollinator plantings. Thank you so much. You can find more about Pollinate HV at pollinatehv.org. I also brought some, oh, they're over my seat. I brought some index cards in case anyone wants to bring some home with them. And every municipality we're working with sort of has a different procedure, so I'd be looking to you all for guidance on what would be the next step as far as if there are any additional meetings required or anything before we could look for a signed letter of commitment. Thank you.
Well, that's difficult to like. I mean, it's all paid for, it's good maintenance is included, it would beautify. It's obviously small enough, compact enough to not really, you know, absorb a lot of the area there. Not that those places are really going to be utilized. But I think it would enhance the park, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
You like the sites, the locations that they chose? And you all went around, right? I mean,
We did. We
you
went to,
here, you
yes.
Did you go to St. Margaret?
We went to St. Margaret. Yes, we were looking for an area with high pedestrian foot traffic. Because they're small gardens, they really need to be walked up close to sort of interact with and enjoy. So honestly, we all really loved the idea of St. Margaret's, where it's adjacent to Holy Cow, so that people could look at it while they ate their ice cream. But there is some talk of a sidewalk going into that and other construction happening, and we're really ruling out any sites that have major construction happening in the near future.
Good point, good point. Yeah, it's too bad we don't have the sidewalk in now.
Yeah.
I had a question about the site that's right next to the playground, which I think is great. When you design the signage, I know you said that you referenced multi-generational outreach, but could those signs in particular be made really kid-friendly so that it's an opportunity to engage youth?
Absolutely, that's a great idea. I think we would probably need to layer that on so that we make sure we have sort of the garden design adult level information. But I ran children's gardens at the Brooklyn Botanic Garden. Engaging kids is my jam. So yeah, we could definitely, that would be a great, I think, enrichment to that use of that space there. And something I didn't mention, I know people, as I said, are worried about attracting wasps, honeybees. Those are really not the insects that we're trying to attract. We may have some honeybees interested in some of these plants, but mostly we're talking about like tiny sweat bees that are so small you can barely see them, are a lot of what's on the list. Butterflies, moths, and bumblebees. And generally, honeybees are going to be looking more for non-native things like thyme, and some of the traditional non-native garden plants they're much more attracted to. Clover is where you're going to get your honeybees. We're not planting clover. Yeah. Am I allowed to take questions? I don't know the.
Sure.
Okay.
Are there any concerns about predators? Because I know I have a lot of trouble with my local garden. Many things are being eaten.
Yes, rabbits are often a challenge, especially because we will be planting things small. So I don't know, does anyone know how much rabbit herbivory there is in the park?
They're around.
Yeah, they're around. Yeah, we can put up protective fencing if we do notice some nibbling in the early days, but all of the species we'd be planting are deer resistant. So that doesn't mean they'll never be nibbled on by deer, but they are not preferred by deer, and many of them deer really actively dislike. So they're kind of as good as you can get without fencing around. Yeah.
What about setback from the pathway and pets? Because we do have a lot of people who bring their dogs.
Yes. I mean, we could have a little sign that said, please curb your pets, but I would imagine that, you know, there's a lot of lawn and a lot of pavement, and a lot of places other than that one little flower garden for your pet to, you know, so we may need to kind of just run that risk. We were hoping to go right up to the edge just because that really reduces the maintenance. If you only have to maintain kind of weeds encroaching from the back two edges. That's just less like where you have garden up against lawn. That's where you get the crabgrass coming in, and also for the maintenance staff, like if you leave a narrow gap there, that's another place they have to mow around.
Right.
So just to simplify maintenance, that's why
Just go right up
we
to
were looking, yes, and
Yeah.
we'd be planting like low, for example, purple love grass is only about 12 or 18 inches tall. It's not something that will be taking over the path and getting in people's way. It's like a short, bushy, native grass. So we'd be planting low things along the pathway.
And how long does it take for installation?
Installation will be one day.
It'll just be one day?
Yes, one day, and then during that initial growing season, that's when we'll need the most volunteer work to keep things weeded as the plugs go from like little baby plants to, you know, in full sun, which these gardens are, they'll be at full size by the end of the growing season, and they'll kind of knit together, and then there'll be a lot less opportunity for weeds in between plants. So it's really that first initial growing season where we'll be making sure that the volunteers are kind of getting to the site regularly and watering. There is water available that we could use the key code to get water from the back of the concessions building to water in case of drought, which is, these are also very drought tolerant plants. But just right now we're having a drought. This is the kind of time when even with drought tolerant perennials, you need to water a little bit.
Then my other question is, how would you feel if we videoed you doing this and you had some instructional, because I know there's a lot of interest in the community
Yeah, that
for
would,
pollinators, and if people could learn how to do it at their place, I think they would love to do that.
we'd be happy to do that. We're actually filming a series of videos that I'll be
Oh, you are?
doing just
Okay.
to demonstrate like how to lay out plants in a way that makes it look attractive and professional. So that if people don't want to replicate exactly what's on the sign, they also just feel empowered to, you know, pick a couple of these and lay them out themselves in drifts. But yeah, happy to be, yes, on camera, it's fine.
Right. Richie, you know what?
I think it's a great idea. It's very interesting. Honeybees for ecosystem stability, biodiversity, food source, pollinators of fruits, vegetables, things like that. I think it's fantastic. Are you aware of the Northern Duchess Beekeepers Club?
We are, but I have to explain that we're not focused on honeybees because honeybees are not native.
Okay.
They are excellent crop pollinators, but they're not really part of our native ecosystem, and actually they can outcompete native bees a little bit. So we're really targeting, because we want to have like a diversity of pollinators, especially as honeybees are getting challenged by colony collapse disorder. It's actually better to have like 450 species of bees that can pollinate our crops rather than just relying on one that's clearly like having some issues. So we do have about 450 species of native bees, and we're looking to kind of support all the diversity there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I got to meet up with them early this summer. They actually had a summer barbecue at the Red Hook Boat Club.
Oh, cool.
And I got to speak with them. A lot of good people there. I think, you know, getting them involved and even educating them
Yeah.
on, you know, what the project you're trying to propose could be beneficial. 'Cause I
Yeah,
know
tell
they'll be
me the
supportive.
name of the organization again.
Yeah, it's the Northern Duchess Beekeepers Club or Association.
Yeah, I have heard about it.
A lot of nice people
Yeah.
there.
Board members, more questions? This is gonna be a tough one, isn't it? Ashley, anything else we should know?
I don't think so. The other municipalities are New Paltz, Kinderhook, Catskill, and Rhinebeck. Just so you know where else would be on the map. I don't think so. Any other questions for me?
I don't think so. Why don't you just shoot us an email what you need from us, and like maybe we'll tackle it at the next meeting,
Okay, when is the next meeting?
August 27th?
August 27th. Okay, so is it something that the town board would vote on? That we would need to get on the agenda for a vote?
I think so. I don't think this is, yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for your time, everybody.
Thanks for all your good work. Very exciting. Yeah, it'd be nice to do something over behind here. I don't want to say our landscaping here is lacking, but our landscaping here is lacking.
We did look at the front.
You looked at the front
Yeah.
there too, yeah. Okay. Last but but not least, that we have final amendments. We did finally figure out the overtime rate for the police services agreement. 2025 base is 105,000, 65 an hour for court services, 85 for overtime. Those are the substantive changes. Any questions? We have a resolution, we have to fill in the dates because we keep going back and forth on this one. I'm sorry, Deanna, we have 58, where are we?
58.
58, thanks. Dated August 12th, approving police services agreement 2025 between the Village of Red Hook and the Town of Red Hook. And that pretty much says it all. It's police. Who's the liaison for police?
I am.
Would you like to move it?
I will move it. Resolution number 58.
May I second that? Okay. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4 ayes. Okay, folks, that concludes what's on our agenda for tonight. At this time, I would like to make a motion that we go into Attorney Klein. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. Folks at home, stay healthy, be happy. We'll see you August 27th. This time, second to go into Attorney Klein. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much, everyone.